Well, thanks for coming. A couple comments about the game. First, I want to thank Buckeye Nation, like I did after the game, that never ceases to amaze me, the following that Ohio State has. I've known that for a long time, way back from 1986, 87, when I was here before, and all the way to the Pac-12 game against Cal last year, where the majority, I don't know if it was majority, but there's a bunch of Ohio State people in the stadium, and then this one was a home game for us, and we appreciate that. Second, just a couple comments about our opponent, Naval Academy. I've coached against Navy many times, against Air Force several times, Army I think once or twice, and tremendous respect, as most people do, for the discipline and the way they play. This was probably the most talented of all the service academies that we've coached against. I remember one year Army, I think Ed Warner was there when I was at Notre Dame, and they won 10 or 11 games and were a top 20 team, top 15 team. And I remember leaving that field thinking that they're extremely talented. I felt that way about this group. Very talented, very experienced, and it was exactly what we expected. JT did okay. He was 12 of 15. He had a drop, a pick, interception, an interception, a drop, and a throwaway. Those are 3 incomplete passes. We shouldn't drop a ball. A very ill-advised pass down in the red zone, and then a throwaway where we got beat up front quickly, and he just got rid of the ball, which was actually a good job. Interesting comment, or interesting thoughts I shared with our team yesterday. I'll review that with you. Offensively, that was very poor the first half, very poor. And we had a punt, a field goal, a punt, our first 3 drives. You can't do that in that game. And I knew that going into the game, and that's why, get pretty uptight, because every possession, Navy can score at any time, and plus sometimes you only get 3 or 4 possessions a half. But once again, punt. The good thing is when we did punt, we dropped it on the -1 yard line. We did hit a field goal. We had a punt again. I believe that was 3 and out. Then we threw an interception, and then we closed with a field goal. And that was that kind of first half. Usually, if your defense isn't hanging in there, you have a problem. The second half was much better. You had turnover and downs, and then 3 straight touchdowns. Our defense scored for us. They gave us the ball at the -43 and the +41 twice, obviously. We're down 14-13, and we went for it on 4th and 2, and we came right back and we held them to 5 yards. That was on a Curtis Grant. If you remember, that was that series of plays. That was the difference in the game. We spent a lot of time talking to our team about that. The chemistry on our team is very good. There's a tendency to, when you go for a block punt, you run into the punter. When you go for it on 4th down, and why did we do this? Why did we do this? I think we make it very clear that we're going to probably go again next week for it. So let's get ready. And when they say defense, your job is to stop people. And Coach Fickle and Coach Ash made a comment to me. It's the best, it's the best they've seen in the last couple, maybe 3 years even. As far as just, when it's a sudden change situation or a 4th down, you don't get it. You just go do your job. And then just that, once again, those series of events we're down 14-13. We went for it at midfield. You're midway through the 3rd quarter. If things don't work out, they score, we're down by 8, and you maybe get 2 possessions left in that game. And that was what was going through my stomach after we didn't get it on 4th down. But we get the ball back, and they punt the ball at the end zone, 80-yard touchdown, and then you take control of the game a little bit. So that was a very important series of the game. That's why I made such a big deal about that. I thought the defense, we gave up far too many yards. One series was disturbing. They ran a little counter play that first time they ran it, and a 4-play drive for 80-some yard touchdown. Other than that, I thought our defense hung in there real well. Champions for the game. You had Darren Lee on defense, Duran Grant, and Tyvis Powell. You can see 2 first-time starters there with Darren Lee and Tyvis Powell. Duran Grant graded out actually 100%. They didn't throw the ball, but he was 8 for 8 of making plays. On offense, your champions once again are guys that play with championship level effort and execution. Devin Smith graded out 88%, 2 touches for 94 yards. Evan Spencer played very well, was blocking downfield. He's one of the top 2 or 3 blockers we've ever had at wide receiver. Dontre Wilson graded out a champion. Is 5 for 5 on making plays. He did have a drop, though, so that should say 5 or 6. 8 touches for 90 yards. Our 2 tight ends played pretty good, Jeff Hireman and Nick Vanette. And then offensive line, Taylor Decker and Darrell Baldwin. Ezekiel Elliott was player of the game. So that's our champions. Night game, Ohio State style, which is very unique. Our players are excited. Our fans are excited about it. We got a very good opponent, a coach that I've known for a long time, and first time I ever played against them. But they are what they are after now really studying. We studied a little bit in the summer and off season, and one of the top 5 defenses in America. Really good defensive coach. Offensively, last year they struggled, but this year they have a quarterback that's a transfer that's throwing the ball very well in the one game. So I'll answer any questions for you.
Front row, Dave.
Coach, I don't think Marcus Ball made the trip. Can you give a status update on Marcus Ball?
He's suspended for 2 games. He's not going to play this game either.
Violation of team rules, anything you can...
Stuff, yeah.
Doug, front row.
Urban, you talked some about the offensive line after the game, getting another look at it. What did you think overall of the line play, and what can you expect making a jump from week 1 to week 2?
We were very disappointed early in the game. We had some pressure. It was we wanted to throw the ball earlier, and it wasn't because of JT or the wideouts, because I thought our guys would make plays, and I have a lot of confidence in JT. It's just we couldn't have minus yardage plays, and it didn't start off very well. So I think they settled down much better, played much better in the second half, and we just there's a couple guys never really played at this. Played major college football. You have Billy Price out there, Jacoby Boren. Darryl Baldwin really hasn't played. Pat Elflein has, and Taylor Decker. So 3 of the 5 never really, that's the first time in that environment. And I thought the second half they played pretty well.
And we talked so much this offseason about the pass defense and everything you guys overhauled. And you play the first week, and
I think we're ranked pretty high in pass defense.
Yeah, it's great. Everything's fixed, right? Are you just curious to see against a team that's more traditionally offensive?
Yeah, real curious, and we have to shift gears. Shift gears. We have to shift gears. That's a tough. And I trust our scheduler, and that's our AD, and he's great, but that's getting ready for that game's tough enough. It's just now you have to go back to the pass defense that's brand new. So we actually started in earnest yesterday on the field, when usually we don't do much on Sunday. We did. And just get back to see if we have improved our pass defense.
Third row left, Dave. Briggs.
Urban, so many questions with JT going into the game, at least on the outside. Is there anything you learned about him that you didn't know about him before the game? And is this a guy you believe you can still attain the same goals you had with Miller?
Oh, I believe so. I believe anytime you lose a great player, we're not a group of. I'm just sharing you with what I tell our players too. When you lose, Braxton Miller is a reigning Big Ten Player of the Year twice back to back, and to say we'll be fine, someone else has to pick up that. We have to have about 100 plus yards of offense. We did not have that Saturday. We need to get some of those skilled athletes in space, and when they get in space, they need to. You saw a couple of those guys that got tackled. You'd like to pull through some of those tackles. So I was not surprised at all by JT. I thought he handled himself very well for his first start. You take away the interception, and I think he did very well. And I'm trying to think of what misfires he had, or a very cognitive quarterback, very smart quarterback that gets us in the right plays and makes the right decisions.
Next to Dave, Bill.
Urban, unique opponent, unique offense in the opener, a lot of history and tradition and intangibles there. Is this more the type of game these kids came here to play, a night game, TV, well-known? And will the jitters be any different? I guess not, because it's at home. But
well, someone told me all the excuses were there last week. You didn't hear us bring it up very often. We had 9 new starters on offense. The good thing is now they're not 9 new starters. They're veteran players now. So enough with the excuses and get going. I just think of our D linemen. Joey Bosa didn't come to Ohio State to squeeze down blocks and keep people off his ankles. That's what he had to do last week. He came to rush the quarterback and penetrate, and there's a big smiles across our defensive line right now to let him go play. Mike Bennett, how'd you play, Mike? And I don't know if he graded a champion or not, and he said I got double teamed every snap, and one guy was trying to take my knees out, and one guy, that's all legal. It's really good football, to be honest with you. But it's not what, to answer your question, they certainly didn't come to play in that kind of game, the defensive line. However, I will say this, you come to Ohio State playing that kind of, it was a great atmosphere, pro stadium, and against a very good opponent.
Front row, Bill.
Kind of building on Bill's question, you said after the game, you got a lot of work to do, but how much can you really take from that? How good do you feel about the team going into it? What can you really take from that game?
Concern number one is offensive line. We're facing a could be, trying to think the rest of our opponents, this will be one of the top one or two defensive lines we'll face all year. Our offensive line did not play like an Ohio State offensive line. The standard was set many, many years ago. I think Coach Warner the last 2 years really added to the reputation of Ohio State offensive line. We did not play like that. The second half we played pretty good, but pretty good's not what we expect. You play pretty good this week, you won't win that game. So we have to get much better fast in the offensive line. On defense, you don't take much from that, because I didn't see a lot of missed tackles. I saw a couple execution errors on a new play they put in, and first game of the season, those things happen. I'm not concerned about that. I'm looking forward to watching how our pass defense has improved.
And one question about Darren Lee, obviously you have the huge play. Just overall, could you kind of talk about his development?
Yeah, he did great at Champion, had 8 tackles. He's a guy that is a product of off-season program, mat drills, of all the different ways we try to develop some toughness around here. He's a quarterback from local New Albany quarterback. He's starting in one of our, tougher guys on defense that throws it around. So I thought I was not surprised. He's been practicing like that since spring ball. Kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect that in spring practice.
Front row left, Lori.
Coach, they're both tall to me, but Michael Brewer and JT Barrett are, I think, considered undersized as a quarterback. Is the game any more favorable to that size quarterback now than it was when you started?
What a great question. I think space has made it a little bit easier. Back when you had the masses of people in front of you all the time. That's a great question I've never really thought about. We had Chris Leak, who was an undersized quarterback, Josh Harris, and Braxton's not gigantic, so I think that'd be very good research. I think mobility is now taken over the 6'4", 6'5" guy that can't run. There's some great ones out there, but those defense coordinators would like to get after those guys because the threat of him doing something with the ball is not really there.
Can I ask what you think makes Frank Beamer so successful? I know the past 2 years aren't what he's wanted them to be, but he's still one of the winningest coaches in the FBS.
I have so much respect for him. When I was the receiver coach, and Bob Davie came walking in and said, "You're the special teams coordinator," and I said, "I don't want to be the special." I didn't really say it like that because he said, "You're out." But he was one of the guys I went because Beamer ball was something that's been around for a long time, and I'd like to think we've patterned ourselves ever since that was in 1999 or something like that, 98, when he said that. That's when my appreciation for special teams. And then I see what Virginia Tech did for so many years. I studied him in person, and I studied him afar ever since. And he set a standard for it. He'll go down as, how they won games. First of all, he's a classy guy that does things the right way. But second of all, his style of play is so unique for many, many years. Obviously, he's a legend.
Far left, Rusty.
Urban, with JT at quarterback, I remember 2 years ago you said the same thing about Braxton, you'd add a little bit more to it each week. Is this a situation where you refine what he's been doing, or do you add a little bit more to it, expand the playbook?
No, we're expanding it, and it was actually just in there, and this is a tough week to do it against. The one thing is they're not overly complicated. They just play very, very hard. So, yes, we will keep giving them more and more. We went into very vanilla last week.
You kind of referred to this running game, both offense and defense, against the run and for the run. You were okay with the way you guys ran the ball and, for the most part, the way you defended against it?
Take away one series, and I know that's easy. That's really not the right way of looking at it. When you look at the score being 7-6 at halftime, I thought our defense played outstanding. If that's 21-6, we were in a bad. And really, their touchdown, that was when the ball hit the pylon. That was a close call as well. So I'm okay with overall running the ball and stopping the run. That's not going to get it done this week. But for the first game out, I wasn't that disappointed.
Far left, Matt.
Dovetailing off of that with Rusty, for your running game, the carries were very evenly distributed, it seemed like, from backs. Going forward, is that the way you'd like it because you got guys that can carry it, or do you need somebody to be 15, 20 carry guy? What are you looking for, I guess, this week and down the road from your?
Yeah, last year we had a guy that was a 20, 25 carry guy. We have some pretty capable players. We also don't have that body type to go just slam it in there so many times on the offense line. And so that's a good question. We're gonna let it see. I know there's a lot of guys here. Rod Smith had the play of the day. He held a block on punt return for 11 seconds, and the way we do our business here, that entitled him some carries. I mean, it was one of the greatest efforts I've ever seen on a play. For 11 seconds, he locked down a defender and then knocked him down at the end of the play. It's worth what? If we could get you a copy. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen. So when you get guys like that doing those type of things, Jalen earned some carries last week. Dontre certainly has. Then you got Zeke, you got Curtis Samuel. All these guys are earning these carries, and so I think it's probably going to be like that again this week, just because these young guys have earned these carries.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, Urban, one quick, you just touched on it, the pylon. What was explained to you about that? I guess the rule is if you touch the pylon in any way, it's a touchdown, but he hit it from the back instead of the front. I mean, how was it explained to you, or was it?
It wasn't. I'm not one of those guys that rant and rave at officials, and I know there's a replay. I heard there were 2 calls. We sent the one in as well where Zeke rolled over a guy on the 3rd down and 4. And someone told, I didn't really study it that close, but we sent it in, and I'm waiting on the response back. But if it touches the pylon, it's a touchdown. The question I had is, did part of his body go down or out of bounds before he did it? Great play by that kid, because he was out of the.
And the other thing, Devin Smith just all of a sudden just pops up every now and then and makes a huge play. You've been with him around for 3 years now. Explain what he's about, in your opinion.
He's the best deep ball player. We've done doing this for a long time. I want to say one of the best deep ball players we've ever had. He adjusts so well to the ball. He's caught, someone said 18 or 19 touchdowns, and his average is over 40 yards per catch on a touchdown, and that's unique. He's extremely fast. He tracks the ball down very well. It's not like we're holding him. The team we played against was a very soft zone. They weren't going to give you the deep balls, and they had a coverage mistake. That's how that happened.
Well, was that a huge play not only for him but for JT to recognize? You understand what I mean? Did everybody kind of like build on that one, I guess?
Well, we wanted to do that early in the game. It was actually the same play where we caught Dontre on the about a 30-yard pass in the first half. Same exact play, only that it was designed. It's called it's a H levels play that's really designed. Take a look deep first. If it's there, take it. If not, come down, check down 2 to 3, and they hit the coverage. So that's always a big part of our. And one of the reasons Devin's doing so well in our offense is that's the number 1 look on all of our. Not all of them. The majority of our play action passing game.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, you mentioned that you guys maybe came out a little vanilla and then are looking to expand the playbook for JT this week. Is there a learning curve for coaches, just like there would be from Barrett on the field, in terms of learning what he does well, what you wanted, how you're going to call plays for him?
And once again, I think Barrett's part of it. The offense line's the other big part of it. What can those guys do and what can they do well? And we're expecting them in the next couple of weeks to be able to do it all well. So it's not just JT. It's when we say expand the playbook, it's for JT and it's for the offensive line. And once those 2 groups come together, which I'm expecting that to happen rather quickly, better, or we won't win this game, then we'll continue to expand it.
Coaches always say this time of year that they expect the biggest jump maybe from week 1 to week 2. Just for JT, what do you anticipate would be an area where he could make some strides right away?
Good question. Just trying to think with the mistakes he made. I honestly, he was pretty good. I just think more dynamic. But then I had a 16-yard run on when Ezekiel led on the draw play. So, he's done pretty good. He's just not the dynamic guy, and I wouldn't mind a little. When you go. But he played pretty well.
Last couple questions. Todd, front row.
Urban, we're all asking you about JT. It seems like a lot of your answers are you lack confidence in your offensive line right now.
The second half helped. Spring practice did not help. Training camp helped. And then the first half did not. Second half really helped. So to say I don't have confidence is probably not fair, because we called on our own 20-yard line a play action pass to go win the game, and I wasn't going to do that in the second quarter. in the second half, I gained a lot of confidence in our offense because I saw their demeanors change at halftime, and there's a redshirt freshman out there playing. There's a senior who's never played really much competitive football, and there's another guy, another young player that hasn't done much.
And you guys didn't have a whole lot of plays in that game. I think you only had 7 in the third quarter. Did you get everybody in that you wanted to
No.
offensively?
No, Raekwon McMillan, we have to get him in the game. He got on some special teams. Eric Smith got on some special teams. Sam Hubbard's close. No, we have to. Johnny Dixon's close. We have to get other guys in the game.
And last question, middle, Jeff.
It was actually pretty similar to that as far as the freshmen. I remember after last year, you said you wanted to make sure that those young guys were more ready to play after some of those guys didn't get a chance to get in a year ago. I think 4 played on that first game against Navy. Do you want to, you kind of mentioned there you want to get
Only
those
4 played?
for the true freshmen from this.
We need more than that. And they have to earn that time, but Raekwon will play this week. And the other names, that I mentioned are getting better and better. And we have to, Dante Booker had he cut his foot on something, and so he wasn't really ready to play. We got to get him ready to play as well.
Coach, thank you.
Thanks.
very much.